Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show Mindful Matters on Radio Al Ansar at 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. A show that promises to provide an hour of inspiration, information and motivation with me, your host, Nazia Iram Osman. Please feel free to participate in the show and make it interactive so we can learn and inspire each other by sharing our stories. WhatsApp your questions, queries, feedback or comments. The WhatsApp number is 060-904-1056. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So our topic for today is one that is sensitive and eye-opening. It is around toxic relationships and the impact that this has on our lives. Toxic relationships encompass our parents, friends, spouses, peers, and even ourselves and the way we choose to treat ourselves. The definition of a toxic relationship is any relationship whose foundations are not built on mutual respect, trust, and healthy boundaries, which lead to one party to feel psychologically or emotionally drained and possibly even manipulated. As much as it's easy to blame one person for this, sometimes it's caused by not being able to set clear boundaries and being assertive in terms of our own needs and wants. Usually, however, the person who is toxic is not aware of their actions and could be self-absorbed and so preoccupied with their own emotions, goals, and desires that they do not pay attention to those of another, signaling to their own lack of empathy and insight. So sometimes the intent is not bad, but most of the time they could be completely ignorant to the impact that they're having. And to tell us more about this is the wise and well-versed Naadira Chhipa. Naadira does not need any introduction, but for formality's sake, I will do it. Sister Naadira Chhipa is a life coach, motivational speaker, and author of inspirational books like Ink of Inspiration and Soothe Your Soul. Welcome, Naadira, to Mindful Matters.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah so much for having me, Sister Nazia. It's an honor for me to be on your show.
Jazakallah so much. And I must tell you, Naadira, once we start talking, we don't stop. So we're going to have to ask our technician to stop us at certain points. So Naadira, I've been waiting for the social. I could get to know you a bit more.
Gee.
Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Okay. I'm the author of Ink of Inspiration, as you said, Ink of Inspiration to Soothe Your Soul. Also a registered life coach and counselor specializing in family counseling, marriage counseling, self-esteem issues, also toxic relationship issues. So I specialize in ladies' challenges that they face every single day, which extracts, their happiness, their daily peace from their lives. So when clients come to me, it's not just one issue or one matter that they may have, but a holistic problem, stemming from generations and something that has been haunting them for decades. So it's something that I love doing. It's my passion in life. So before I'm all of the above, I'm also a mom and a wife. Gee.
Yeah. That's lovely. Yeah.
So also an inspiration and motivational speaker.
Okay. And I think it's very important that you mentioned that you're a wife and a mother, because each role that we have takes something out of us.
Definitely. And above everything else, we're a Muslimah and then we're a mom and a wife.
Yeah, definitely. And people forget that every role, as much as we may love it, in terms of time, energy, emotion, takes something out of us. And to do justice to all of it, we have to make that time for each one.
For each one and also for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really important.
And I think I'm guilty as charged. All of us do forget to take care of ourselves.
And to fill our own cups.
Right.
Before pouring out.
Right. I love that analogy of the emotional cup.
Yes.
Because if we are not fulfilled or content, how can we be all of these roles?
And how can we pour out to others?
Definitely, especially in the work that we do.
Right.
And you said you work with ladies and the issues that they go through. Is it the clients are predominantly women?
Women. You
only see women.
Women and children.
Okay.
So we keep it Sharia compliant. There's no men during counseling. And even if it is a marriage counseling, we work with the females and they work with their husbands.
Okay. Right. And another interesting thing, I'm just going to pick up on the words that you used. You said sometimes they come with issues generationally.
Yes.
Right. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that.
There's certain emotional and psychological issues which are hereditary.
Okay.
When I say hereditary, it's going back to the toxic relationship issues.
Okay.
So you may never know why a certain individual in your family is toxic. So when you think about it and you do further research, you find out that in their family, perhaps a grandparent, perhaps an in-law, perhaps a spouse was that controlling towards them, displayed that type of toxic behavior to them, and now they are displaying it towards their children, towards their spouse. So what happens is it takes generation, it travels from generation to generation until somebody acknowledges it, and someone decides to start healing. So it's wounds of decades and a lifetime of wounds, which are not actually healed, but rather it's plastered with a smile. It's plastered with picture perfection. So you don't know what challenges others are facing. We don't know. I always say this, there's so many sisters, there's so many brothers as well that go through challenges daily. And yet when you look at them and you say, how are you? What is the response?
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah.
Correct?
Sure.
Right? So you don't know the internal battles. So what we can do to every single individual we meet is be kind. Because we never know their journey.
We don't know their battle, definitely. So I hear what you're saying, that, even the people that are depressed or people that are down, don't just look all, slumped, and they will come up with a smile on their face and carry on doing the stuff that they were doing, and you wouldn't even pick it up.
And they will look like a normal, healthy individual.
Right. And I think that's the thing with mental health issues, is that it's so hard to see, and that's why it just gets taken for granted.
We have the flu, we prescribed flu medication. Yeah. And people can actually see that, okay, you have the flu, you have symptoms
You're
of the
given
flu.
care for it, not judgment.
But if you have a mental issue or a challenge, nobody sees that. And yet you inside, you are suffering, you're in pain, and you're screaming out for help. You may be actually asking for help in ways and behavior patterns that others may find a bit strange.
Right. Because even the closest will be, and I always use this term, snap out of it, or put more effort. Be grateful for the life that you have.
Yes.
And they don't understand. I would almost call it a burden or a deep dark hole when someone is depressed or someone is down.
Yes.
Because it's so hard for them to do the most mundane of tasks that others take for granted.
The darkness of despair, actually.
Definitely. Right. I like the term that you use, the darkness of despair. And, I like the idea of that. And we just take it for granted that sometimes toxic relationships or behavior patterns can be generational. And yes, there's a genetic factor. Of course, we all know that. But it's also learnt behavior.
Definitely.
And I almost feel like using the word contagious, because if I treat you a certain way, you're going to take that emotion, and what do you do with it? Like kicking the dog syndrome.
Definitely.
You made me feel bad. Where am I going to put this emotion if I'm not a conscious person? I'm going to pass it on to the next person that I meet. Right?
And what happens with that relationship if it's unbreakable bonds, meaning it's family ties? Unbreakable bonds meaning family ties, which we have to maintain.
We have no choice. You have to maintain it.
You have to maintain that. Right. What happens is you feel guilty. You feel entrapped by that relationship. So that toxic relationship becomes toxic to you, to your kids, to your spouse, because now what you're doing, you're projecting onto everyone else.
And sadly, it happens to people that are less in power. So I'm the father of the family. I'm going to maybe hit out to my wife, who's at a position where she has to tolerate more.
Yes.
And then where will it go from her?
To the children.
And then where will it go from there? And then, even the bullying that we're seeing at school.
Yes.
To some large degree, if you go back and look at those homes, there's someone that treated that child really badly, and that child learned.
And bullying as well amongst females, amongst males, amongst adults. It's so rife today. Leave alone schools. There's bullying on social media. There's bullying in the workplace. There's bullying in homes and amongst family members. So, keeping that in mind, we know now the patterns and the behavior of our children and in schools. Where does that come from? Who are they emulating? Who are their role models?
Right. Because, they have to come from somewhere. They say if you understand an environment or context, everybody's behavior makes sense.
Yes.
So a child is not an island. It's not, brought up in complete isolation. They must have learned this from somewhere.
Yes, and this behavior becomes their database.
Right.
So, our parents are our database.
Definitely. How many times as we grow older, we're like, oh, I sound like my mother. Oh, I sound like my father. Because
you may do something that, that's similar to your parents.
Right.
And the same with behavior patterns.
Definitely. And I think it, I have to bring it back. We got so into this topic. What made you choose this kind of work?
Okay, Sister Nazia, I would say I didn't choose it. It's Allah Ta'ala who chose this work for me. Coming from a background with a BCom accounting degree,
right.
I was someone in that field, someone working with figures. And and so life happened, and I was married, and after 2 years of having my baby, I found myself trying to find something for me.
Right.
As a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find something that I want to do for myself. Because after the birth of my son, I did go through postnatal depression.
Okay.
And in that, I found the light to write.
Okay, lovely. Anyway, that brings me to the next question. And it was, I was reading your book and I had to read it piecemeal at a time because the intensity of emotion in it, the way you described pain, the thought in my head was, how can you know this depth if you haven't been through it?
Definitely.
Right. So, I mean, when you say postnatal depression, you've been through that darkness, the despair, and alhamdulillah, you've come out of it.
And, to give you a practical example, it was, I think, 2 months after my son was born, and I was telling my husband, you know what, there's this darkness that I'm in. Literally, you feel it. That's what you feel at that time. And to all new mothers, and if you're going through PND, and you should actually acknowledge this.
Yeah.
And, you get your support system and try to communicate what you're feeling to them.
Right.
And most of our parents and most of the generations before us would not understand the term postnatal depression.
Right. And it's very common, but I think, Naadira, the mothers themselves don't know what is going on.
Yes,
to even put that label and ask for help, they have to first say, something's not right. Yeah, what is this?
And it's very difficult to accept.
It is very difficult because I think motherhood is painted in this amazing light that you will get this baby and you'll know how to handle it just like that. You're going to bond with this child straight away. And when it doesn't happen, you're so racked by guilt and to ask for help.
And when you're not getting that support, or if you're not getting the words you're looking for, because remember, not everyone understands PND and not everyone understands what you're looking for. You're not looking for help with physical help. You're looking for emotional support. Right.
And understanding. The moment someone understands what you're going through.
But all new mothers need to understand that with every child that's born, a mother is born.
Right. And a mother will react differently to each child.
Definitely. Right. Each mother will react differently. So there's no set rule. This is how motherhood's supposed to be. Inverted commas, this is how you're supposed to feel. Right. This is what emotion, I don't have this emotion, but I want to have this emotion. So I'm grateful for that child, but I'm not feeling this.
Yeah.
Correct? And also when you talk about depression or postnatal, any form of depression, it's this darkness that only you would understand.
Right.
Because that's in your mind. The darkness is in your mind. And it's literally like a hole pulling your entire soul down.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to others because, the line, at least you have this. At least you have a healthy baby. Why aren't you grateful?
Definitely.
And you get to feel that you're an ingrate.
Yes. And what happens is you become more, you're
guilt-stricken.
Exactly about it. So that's where it actually started, where I needed to find something for myself, something that I needed for me at that time. And I didn't know that, I could write. Honestly, I didn't know.
Right.
This is not something I studied. This is not something I've been...
This is pure talent.
This is something I just started out of pure emotion.
Right.
Because it was my emotions, which I put down onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And what happened was, Sister Nazia, I sent that article via WhatsApp to the new mothers I knew.
Okay.
So I thought that, if it could help me, it could help them as well.
Right.
And this one article, it was my first article, I See You, where I speak about how I cannot actually see you waking up at 3 a.m. I cannot see you crying in the bathroom. I cannot actually see your despair, but I feel you.
Yeah.
Because we all go through.
And that's lovely because that's the unsaid. People will not say that. You know what? I woke up at 3 o'clock. I had a total meltdown.
And
I was breastfeeding. My back is paining. I just can't tolerate it. No one says these things.
No one says these things. But we all go through it.
Right.
And you know what? We find unity in that. We find peace and happiness in knowing that another sister is going through exactly what I'm going through.
But the funny part is, I always believe by telling stories we inspire.
Definitely.
But many people are uncomfortable with sharing their pain, their struggle. They want to tell you the end result. I'm fine. It's all good. Let me tell you how it's done. But not, I'm feeling this and this is how I'm struggling through it.
And a lot of our sisters are struggling, but it's in silence.
Yeah.
It's in silence. There's a lot of stigma. There's taboo, leave alone depression or mental illness. There's certain subjects that's taboo in our community and our society for women to speak about and speak on.
Right.
So I find that by me telling their stories and getting it out there, they find comfort in knowing that someone else has been through it and someone else has actually found the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. And the struggle is universal. Somehow by knowing that we as a community, we as women go through this, you're not so alone
You're
in
not
it.
alone, and you're not isolated.
You're not isolated. Yeah. And not like we're trying to make small of it. Everybody goes through it in their own way.
Yes.
But to know that someone else has been through it
And
can give you
someone
hope.
gets it.
Yeah.
You know, someone
gets it.
actually gets you and someone understands you.
Right.
That's the most important thing, that a sister or even a brother who's going through a mental illness could actually grasp. They actually want to hold on to that.
Yeah.
That someone understands me.
Right. And that's the huge one. And even like I know with therapy or counseling,
Yes.
we hear you. And people think you have to be an articulate speaker, but you don't. You have to be an understanding, non-judgmental listener. Yeah.
Yes, true.
And today's topic was very, very interesting. Toxic relationships. And I heard you having a workshop on it.
Gee.
Maybe, before we get full on chatting, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that workshop. Where is it?
Okay.
What will you be talking about exactly?
Definitely. Okay, so on the 24th of August 2019, which is next Saturday, we are having a toxic relationship workshop at the Al Ansar Conference Center. So in this workshop that I'm conducting, we have healing of relationships, healing of every relationship, since birth until you reach an age where you feel you are now at an age that the house is empty, you have your husband or you don't, perhaps you reach an elderly age and you're all alone, and each relationship between that in a lifetime basically.
Right.
Whether that relationship extracts happiness and peace, or whether that relationship is burdened by emotional trauma, or you just feel that you need to reconnect somehow.
Right.
So we're helping establish a peaceful environment in the home. Also, the relationship with yourself.
Right.
We're trying to heal your self-esteem. We're trying to rebuild and reconstruct your self-confidence and your self-love.
Right.
So it starts with us.
That's the first relationship we have.
The relationship that you have with yourself, where you're speaking in your mind to yourself the entire day.
And if you could tape that voice, some of it is very cruel.
Toxic.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I don't know if you do this, but I always tell, or some of my patients, I tell them, look in the mirror and say something like, "I am enough."
Exactly.
It's so uncomfortable to acknowledge the self and look at that person in the mirror. Because it means you have to say yes and forgive yourself.
Yes, you say it to others, but do you say it to yourself?
No, it's very hard.
It's very difficult.
Very hard.
So your relationship with yourself and also your relationship with your creator, every relationship, that's what we're trying to highlight. That's what we're trying to restore and trying to revive. Because we have one life. It's so temporary.
Right.
So we're trying to make the best out of this little time we have on earth.
And I think as believers, we believe that make the most of this life, but also prepare for the next, and be conscious and don't do anyone injustice.
Exactly. Right. And that's your relationship with Allah and your creator.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes in.
And they say what the life of a believer is a struggle, right?
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. This is not our Jannah, and it will never be perfect, no matter how picture perfect it is out there.
Yeah. And I think being conscious, having a conscience is something that you can't just have fun or treat someone a certain way. You have to constantly be, am I doing them justice? Is this correct in the eyes of the Almighty? You have to be totally aware. Yeah. So look, I think we have to get more into this toxic relationship topic. There's so much to unpack. Let's just pause for a short ad break and we'll get back to it. Welcome back to Mindful Matters. We were speaking to our sister Naadira Chhipa, and we were talking about this upcoming workshop on toxic relationships. So Naadira, maybe tell us a little bit more about this workshop. Like you told me where it is, but time, does it cost anything?
So it's after Zohar Salah on Saturday,
right?
And it's 200 a ticket. All proceeds go to the Ibn Masood Special Needs School.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And we have Appa Zakira and Sarmia as well as Appa Adila Kasani joining us.
Right.
And Appa Zakira will be giving us the Islamic perspective on unbreakable ties, dealing with family members who are toxic to you.
Okay, very interesting.
That's the Islamic perspectives. Also, tickets are going very fast. Please, if you like to join our workshop, I'm looking forward to seeing all my sisters from Durban there. So please get your tickets as soon as possible, inshallah.
Right. And I love the term unbreakable ties because, especially from an Islamic perspective, no matter what family does, we are told that you maintain ties, right? And I'm also one for that says maintain your ties, but then do not give too much of power to this person to get to you. That's always what
There's boundaries.
Yeah, there's boundaries. And the other part of it, there's this, even when I talk about it, I'm trying to do this very cautiously. There's toxic relationships, and then there's toxic parenting, where the people that brought you into this world sometimes maybe even unconsciously are going through something themselves and have an effect on their children.
Definitely.
And we are told that you do not even, and my dad, I hope you're listening, do not even say oof to your parents, right?
Okay.
That's my dad's line. So, how do we balance that? What do you do with that? That, here's an unbreakable tie.
Yes.
You cannot break that relationship.
And that
you have to
tie
do it
is
with
powerful.
respect. That tie is powerful. And your Jannah is lying through it.
Yes.
But what happens when the parent unconsciously is acting in a way or behaving in a way that is causing some sort of harm to the child? And so too now in this generation, children do harm to parents as well. There's two sides.
Definitely.
But I'm bringing up that toxic parenting.
Yes,
because it seems to be something that's quite not spoken about.
You would know in counseling, we find a lot of sisters coming to us with this topic. Bearing in mind it's taboo, it's very difficult for a child to actually seek help or to heal from that
and
type
most
of
parents
relation.
are doing an amazing job. We're talking about that small percentage.
But it does exist.
Right.
It does exist. I have a lot of clients with this exact same issue and challenge. They probably in their 30s or 40s or even have grandchildren now.
Right.
But that relationship with their mother or their father is now haunting them at this age.
Right.
Why? Why does it still haunt someone when they know and they acknowledge that the person or their parent, one of their parents or both of their parents were toxic? Why does it still come back as emotional baggage as such? It's because our parents, we form our first relationship with who?
Yeah, our parents. Definitely. And the attachment we form would affect every other relationship after that.
As I said, it is the most powerful relationship we would ever have.
Yeah.
The relationship with our mother, with our father.
And there's this, and it's a joke, but it has such gravity to it. If you, as a psychologist, when you don't or a counselor or a therapist, when you don't understand a person and you're not getting them, you ask about their mother.
Definitely. And I
literally you ask about their mother and you get
find it. And you find that.
Yeah, but there's so much of pressure as well on the mother.
Yes.
That she can, and I'm saying both parents, but the mother has this power that she can make or break her child.
And also, that's the reason that Jannah lies under the feet of a mother. Because look at the amount of emotional responsibility a mother, leave alone feeding your child or clothing your child or sending them to school and university. What about that emotional and psychological responsibility that you have towards your children, irrespective of how old they are? They may be 3, they may be 30. But you still have that responsibility towards them. Now, coming back to parents being toxic, again, I would say it's an extremely taboo subject.
Right.
Not a lot of people speak about this. And yet, they acknowledge it internally.
Right.
And they would somehow, instead of focusing on the wound, apply a band-aid over the wound.
Right.
So they bleed on people that did not hurt them.
Definitely. Because I think you must remember, a child that is sitting, most of what we process is before the age of 5.
Definitely.
So a young child is sitting, is not going to say, mommy has an issue or daddy has an issue or they're having a bad day. They're going to say, I must be bad for them to treat me like that.
That is so true. But we as mothers and the mothers of our community, we need to understand that our children are an amana from Allah Ta'ala. They're not from us.
Right.
They're not from us. They are through us.
They are through us. Yeah.
Children have their own mind. They have their own individual
and their
personality.
own journey
that
they are going to go through.
And by us controlling even the next breath they take, are we now saying that we're entitled to their life?
And many want to live their dreams through their children. And the intention is not bad at all. But what pressure does that child go through?
Definitely. And what pressure a child goes through, we would never know, because they don't come back to that parent to say, you know what, you wronged me. Correct? But they need to hear
that. But I mean, also on the same token, I feel it's unfair we go this way. What about the other side, where as elderly abuse, where elderly parents are being taken advantage of by their children and they don't want to give up on that relationship?
Definitely.
All their hopes are pinned on this child, and not even financially. Will you come and see me?
Company. Spending that time with your parents when they reach old age, because they sacrificed probably lifetime for you.
Right.
And now they're sitting with an empty nest. Empty nest meaning there's no kids at home. They're married. They have lives of their own. And today everybody seems to be busy.
Yeah,
so there's no like how it used to be in the past, where you go visiting and where you take all the families.
Now it's at the mall,
Now
the mall is the place.
Or you make appointments to visit people.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, that comes in where your children are toxic towards you.
Right. And we see a lot of that.
Yes. Or someone coming into your family or marrying into your family, and that person is toxic towards the entire family. So hence, we need to introspect and find out, are we toxic to anybody?
That's interesting, because I think many of us hate to take responsibility for our own
Definitely.
behavior. And I think there's this concept that I may be amazing with you, but come the next person, I may be irksome to them. Some people just don't click, but we have to be responsible for our own
And respectful.
Yes,
as
of
well.
our own reactions and the way we choose to behave.
It's
And,
not
yeah.
always that someone is toxic towards you. You could
Sometimes
be-
you are toxic
Yes,
towards the other person,
others.
and that's a bitter pill to swallow. And look, I know there's no big solution that will fit everyone, but how do
Definitely.
you deal with people that come, just say
Okay.
someone comes to you and say, you know what, I have this relationship with my parents or with my
Yes.
children, and I don't know how to deal with them. What kind of advice would you give
Sister
them?
Nazia, as you said earlier, a toxic person or someone that's hurting you, firstly, you got to understand, if someone hurts you, irrespective of what they said, they hurt you. You felt that hurt. You did feel that hurt. So we
Right.
need to stop saying that I'm being too sensitive or
Okay.
it's my fault. It's always that you blame yourself for others, for something that others do to you or how they make you feel. Probably I'm taking it too personally.
Right.
Yeah, but that hurt is still there. And for years to come, that person may have forgot what they said to you.
Right.
But you are still carrying the burdens of their words.
Mm-hmm.
You may feel it on your shoulders, you may feel it in your head at times, where it becomes a trigger
For you and
for
other
you
people.
and other
yeah.
people are around. And you don't understand why this hurt is still there. You want to heal from it and you don't understand. But again, it comes down to the relationship you have with yourself.
Definitely.
Setting
And then to knowing,
boundaries.
okay, I'm willing to take this responsibility,
Yes.
this much, but that person also has to take responsibility for themselves.
for
You're not
their
owning
words.
everybody's behavior.
And you don't internalize everything.
Right.
So when you don't absorb it like a sponge.
Okay.
Right? So again, it comes down to boundaries. It comes to respect, self-love, also self-acceptance. Accept yourself for exactly, you know what, you're amazing just the way you are.
Right. Yeah, just by being, you are worthy.
Exactly, just
Right.
by being. You're Allah Ta'ala's creation.
Right.
Understanding that, having a firm relationship with your creator, so every other relationship falls into place.
Right. So I don't have to be useful. I don't have to be
And I
beautiful.
don't
I don't
have
have
to
to
prove
be
myself.
skinny. I don't have to be this to be accepted.
To be accepted. Because
Right.
Allah Ta'ala loves us just the way we are.
Right. So we should love ourselves just the way we are.
Exactly.
Right. And I think I'm not to say that we closed off to improvement or constantly we strive a bit more. But even if you don't achieve your goals in the time you left yourself, you still love yourself.
You still love yourself, and you don't
Right.
have to actually prove yourself to that toxic person.
Right.
You don't have to continuously now prove that I
and
am
seek
this
validation
person
from them.
and whether it's toxic or not, whether it's even social media, for example, you don't need to seek external validation.
Right. That's a huge one. When you are content within
Yes.
yourself, you're not seeking it out
In likes
there.
or
Right.
hearts or comments.
And I think then your boundaries come up naturally. That
Definitely.
I am not
I'm
comfortable with
authentic.
this.
You know, I'm me. I'm authentic. I'm myself. I don't have to be this person in order to be loved
Right.
or
yeah.
liked.
But when we have a pit within ourselves, it's hard to be full.
Definitely.
Then you're going to seek it from elsewhere.
And then you're going to seek attention
right.
elsewhere.
And then you'll play the victim.
And then you play the
Because-
victim again.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And then you see this happening where you find in adults, you find a lot of women are becoming more depressed or have mental issues today. Why?
Mm.
Than it was in the past.
Back, yeah. Back
Why
in the
is
day.
it? Because our lifestyle's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And what we use to communicate has changed. And what we're seeing has changed. So
Right.
now when we see picture perfection, we compare, again, comparisons.
Right.
We compare to what
But
we
they're
have.
not even realistic
It's not-
comparisons. Because
that
what
is
are you
true.
comparing yourself to? One good moment
a
this
glimpse,
person is having.
a glimpse in the life of
Right.
others, a piece of the puzzle. You're not
Right.
seeing the entire puzzle because we
Right.
all, again, each one of us has challenges that nobody knows of.
Yeah. So they're not seeing the journey or the
Yes.
pain that person had to go through to be that picture perfect. And that too,
Yes.
that's what I say. It's just a glimpse of a moment,
A moment in time,
Yeah.
a happy moment.
a happy moment.
You don't
Yeah.
see the behind the scenes moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just seeing the final, edit of it.
Yeah,
so to
definitely.
speak.
And I think that's what sells. That gloss,
That
Facebook,
glamour,
Instagram,
yes, that lifestyle.
That's definitely. And I think there was some, research done that when a person is depressed and you take away Facebook from them, and at that time it was Facebook that when the research was done, they actually improved because when someone's feeling low, they're constantly comparing.
Yes.
And they're
what
just
happens
not
when
coming
you're
up to the
constantly
mark.
comparing? You're not grateful for exactly what you have.
Right.
And you're putting yourself down because I don't have this car or that holiday or that ring or everything, again, materialism.
Yeah. No, I won't lie. Come December, I cringe because I say, everybody's gone out. I'm sitting here washing dishes at home.
But it's
Yeah.
normal. That's how our mind works. It automatically compares, the lifestyle you have to somebody else. But that's when we need to be conscious of what we're thinking. Again,
Right.
your relationship with yourself.
Right.
That's how important it is.
Right.
So you're able to filter, instead of looking at that filtered image and, actually burning your own feelings about it, you actually filter your thoughts.
Right.
Because we
okay.
cannot control what others upload or update. We cannot actually control that. But what we can control is how we view it.
Right.
Or what we are viewing. Again, if it's depressing you, if it's putting you in a dark space, there's an unfollow button.
Right. Become conscious of
Yes.
it and stop following that
Definitely.
person. And I think that's very, very interesting. Social media, because social media is so big.
Yes.
And I think you said that even in I think it was in your book, or you said in your workshop, you're going to touch on
Definitely.
Toxic relationships with
External
social
toxic,
media.
Yes, external.
Yeah.
That brings us to the external toxic relationships.
Right.
Where I have clients who are going through depression as such because of social media.
Okay.
A 16-year-old actually overdosed
Oh my
because
word. Yeah.
of, again, social media. There's bullying that's going on. There's female bullying that's going on. There's promotion of things that are un-Islamic and does not actually correspond with our lifestyle as such.
Okay.
So the thing is that people are getting mixed signals. What do we believe?
Right.
Do you understand? Again, I wrote an article about practicing Muslims recently.
Right.
Where on social media you see Muslims who are not self-proclaimed, they're not practicing Muslims. So
Right.
when children view that, or when teenagers view that,
They
what
think
are they
it's
looking at?
acceptable.
It's
Yeah,
acceptable.
because she's a Muslim, she's doing
Exactly,
it.
but she's not practicing. Do you understand?
But
where
see
that
how
comes from?
conscious we have to be about
Exactly.
the stuff that we put up, because it has responsibility. I mean, by
does.
putting it out there, you're saying it's okay. It brings me to, I remember whenever we want to go eat somewhere and we see other Muslims, we're like, it must be halal. See that that Muslim man is eating there. So, it's not just you and what you're doing. It's the impact you are having on others.
And we'll be questioned about every like, every comment, every heart that, came our way or we're responsible for. Or
Yeah.
every thought that we are responsible for, because we're putting up these pictures, we're putting up this lifestyle.
Right. And then, what's funny is that they say social media brings those that are far closer to you, but those that are close become distant.
True, very
Because
true.
we're all guilty. We're sitting with our family around us, but we're connecting with someone that was in school with you 10 years ago or
And
20
you're
years ago.
invisible to your family.
You're invisible to your family. So it's quite dangerous in that. There should be
Definitely.
discipline to it. There should be a time limit to it. It's
should
coming
be
to bed with
controlled.
us. It's everywhere with
That's
us.
true. It's everywhere. It's literally with you all the time. What's the closest thing to you? It's your cell phone today.
They say, researchers said that your phone is like an extension of you. When your phone is far away, people feel lost.
Definitely.
Because your
Today-
computer, you can still switch off.
And it's become a habit.
Right.
To
And how many
constantly-
times have we been to a restaurant? And I'm sure everybody sees this. Family of so many, each one on their phone.
Even
No one's
2-year-old
talking
children.
anymore to each
Definitely.
other.
And they're not communicating. So how are you going to communicate all your challenges that you face during the day? How are you supposed to communicate with your spouse that you have marital issues?
Yeah. And that's another scary one, that talking about toxic relationships, the person can be right next to you, you think you are safe, but they're communicating with someone else while they're next to you.
And that could be your spouse.
And that could be
Or that could be your son or your daughter.
And you don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't. And how dangerous is that?
Right.
That they're communicating with people that you don't know, and what influence those people have on your children or your spouse or
Right.
you.
So then we're not even safe in the safety of our
Exactly.
own homes.
Exactly.
And then what do you suggest for a toxic relationship with social media or with your phone or with all these technology?
You see, today you cannot say that I don't have technology or technology doesn't affect me. Everyone's affected by technology.
Right.
From a 2-year-old to a 70-year-old, they know, you have social media platforms, they're on your WhatsApp groups, you have family WhatsApp groups, and everyone's connected in that way.
Right. And there is some good to it. There's
a
some
lot of
benefit
good,
to it.
because
Right.
social media is a tool.
Right.
So, I mean, if I'm using it as well to promote something that I am passionate about, which is my writing.
Yeah.
So if someone is using it to promote like home industries, or they're selling, stuff that they want their business to be highlighted and promoted. Shukar, alhamdulillah, it's getting, sisters from the kitchens and writing recipe books
Yeah.
to being published.
Right.
And
So it's
that-
empowering
yes,
as well.
it's empowering. It depends on how you use it.
Right.
Again.
So there's no evil to it. It's
There's-
how you use
exactly.
it that can make it toxic
Can be a
or
weapon
evil.
of your
Yeah.
destruction or something that could illuminate your life.
Right. But I think isn't it about balance?
It is about balance. At the end of the day, it's about control.
Right.
It's about knowing when to put your cell phone down and give your family that time, and telling them that, it's supper time, and here's the boundary.
Right. So here's an
all-
idea. All phones should be put away at meal times.
At meal times, exactly. And all devices should be put away. Leave it on.
And then the first person that touches that phone must wash the dishes. How about that?
How about that?
So guys, I hope you listen to that tip. And with that, we're going to on our ad break and we'll catch up soon. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Mindful Matters. I feel like, they say time is relative. I feel like time is just flying. Sister Naadira and I had to both take a breath because we felt like we ran a race. And, sadly, we're almost at the end of our show. But before we tie everything up, Sister Naadira, what advice do you want to leave our listeners with? Or is there anything else you think maybe we've left out, or anything that is relevant?
Okay, we did cover a lot.
We did cover a lot in a short space of time.
Yeah. And inshallah, we have a lot more to cover.
Inshallah.
But before I leave, I just want to say that focus on your wounds. Focus on the wounds that have not been healed. Focus on those wounds which you applied a band-aid over and you actually smiled with picture perfection while you were bleeding inside. Focus on those wounds which you are bleeding on those who did not even hurt you. Focus so much on your wounds that are actually now burning inside. They are screaming for you to heal them. You have so much of emotions which you are burdening yourself with. Your soul is actually heavy with emotions. It's time to heal, inshallah. Ameen.
Lovely. That's so beautiful. I totally resonate
Something
with that.
I didn't write down.
Yeah, that's lovely because I always tell my patients, when you come here, don't think you're going to feel amazing instantly.
Yes.
It's literally
It's a
opening
journey.
up wounds, sometimes letting them ooze where you might feel a little bit worse before you feel
Definitely.
better.
And there's a
but
lot of
carrying
pain in
that around
There's
is
a lot of
probably
pain
worse.
in healing.
There's a lot of pain in healing.
But it's the
Right.
first step.
Right. And it starts with you.
Yes, everything starts with you. And remember, you are amazing just the way you are.
Oh, lovely. Check that. There's the life coach coming out there.
That's my line for the breakfast.
You are amazing just the way you are. I like that. So thank you, Naadira, for coming on the show. And I hope you will. I'm extending an invite to Naadira to do another show, inshallah, soon.
Jazakallah.
And we're hoping that will be on good enough mothering.
Yes, definitely.
Because I think that's another huge universal
as
challenge.
mothers, it's something we need to highlight.
Right. So we haven't set the date yet, but inshallah soon we'll come up with that. And thank you for coming and, giving us some of your Sunday. And I think that's family day. I know how hard it is to get away from family.
Gee, but Jazakallah for having me. And it's always a pleasure speaking to your sister Nazia. You're doing such a brilliant job.
Jazakallah so much. So next week, Rauf will be on. Mindful Matters will take a pause. And we will catch up again on the 1st of September to chat with family law specialist Aisha Kareem to speak about Islamic marriages and our rights. And to round up today's show, I would like to request Sister Naadira to read something from her book that is relevant to this topic.
Okay, so this is from Ink of Inspiration to Soothe Your Soul, Unappreciated Women. To all those tired women out there who silently wipe away their tears as they feel lonely and unappreciated, even when they do their best to please their family and friends. You are an amazing woman, and although it seems like whatever you do is never enough, you are enough. You are the best daughter, sister, wife, mother and friend. Your family and friends are blessed to have you in their lives. I thank you and I salute you for being the one that makes a house a home, the one that illuminates the heart of her family and friends just by her presence, the one that provides comfort, love and happiness with her warm embrace, the one that shares her advice, her kindness and smile through teary eyes, the one that is strong enough to support and hold her family together, the one that has one heart, yet infinite love, the one I call Wonder Woman, you. You are so special, and although you may feel unappreciated, remember Allah knows, and your reward lies with Him. Ameen.
Jazakallah khair. And I just noticed now that someone sent a message through. So to do them justice, let me read what they've written. Salam's parents, you've got to show love, respect to your children. You will get the same back. I'm a grandmother, been through the mill. I have children and grandchildren who love and respect me.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair. What a beautiful message. And assalamu alaikum to our sister Naadira and to our listeners. And I hope this show lived up to its promise to inspire, educate and motivate. And remember, be mindful, be kind and enjoy the rest of your week. Ma salam.